one's that guy.
So in other words, you're the Captain Jack Sparrow of the karate world.
Yeah, maybe.
Johnny Depp.
And if I grew my hair long, Ross would be very happy.
No, look, it's very fetching on Ross.
Jordan, and welcome to the Invisible Sensei podcast. The Invisible Sensei represents the master in all of us. Style is a construct. The path is personal, with mountains, valleys, and rivers to cross. You are the sensei, the student, the beginner, or the master. Here are my thoughts on how I walk, run, stumble, and stand through mine. Feel free to check us out on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. And remember, it's not what we say when everyone's listening. It's what we practice when no one is watching that creates your Invisible Sensei.
Practitioner who I think you will know, Sensei James Pankovic in Okinawa of the Asato Dojo. And I was talking to him when I said that I was going to get you on the podcast, and he put this question to me. I said, look, have you got any questions that I can ask Langley Sensei? And he said this. So he goes, what are your thoughts on the future of Shotokan and karate in general?
I think, Shotokan in general, I think you go back, like if you just kind of map the trajectory, right? If you go back 50 years, unless you were, I'll talk just specifically about Shotokan, but I think you can probably project that to other styles as well. If you weren't connected to the JKA, you were nothing. If you were a karate practitioner, Shotokan karate practitioner, and if you weren't in a JK club getting JK grades, then you were probably Mickey Mouse. You were probably self-taught, self-promoted, kind of McDojo type thing before McDojos existed. And they were the gatekeepers of knowledge. You had to go to them. If you wanted to learn a kata, you had to go to that guy, and it was only guys, right? They taught you it, and that's how you learn karate. And as time went by, I think these gatekeepers' knowledge and this legitimacy to the JKA a little bit waned, and then as time went by, that kind of like slow decline in their legitimacy. Not that they're not legitimate. I don't mean that. I mean the illegitimacy of other people slowly waned. JK is legitimate, but then equally other people became as legitimate, and in some cases, arguably, I would argue, a little bit more legitimate, in the sense that nowadays it's quite a level playing field. And I've seen JK students and JK instructors, senior JK instructors, who aren't that good. Now, I've also seen a whole host of other instructors from other organizations who equally aren't that good. And I think that was always the case. All I'm saying is that I don't think now that JK is the standard bearer of Shotokan karate. I think there are members within the JK, some very, very good members in the JK who are great and are pushing Shotokan forward, but there are equally other people. So I think what you've seen over the last number of decades is a leveling of the playing fields. And what that means is that you now have a situation where within the spectrum of what karateka are, you have the 10% on one end who are sports karate people. Doesn't really matter. They don't belong to an organization. They don't take rank. They have a blue belt and a red belt in the dogi bag, and they do karate legitimately. And you have the 10% on the other end who are Japanophiles. Unless you've got that JK badge or SKIF or JKS or whoever it is, unless you've got that badge on your chest, you're meaningless. And I think those two ends of the spectrum, never the twain will meet. They'll never see eye to eye. But then that's not really important because they're fringe. What you have in the middle is that 80% of people who just go, I like karate. I like good karate. I just want to do good karate.
Mm.
And yes, and some of them will go, yeah, I like good karate and I like to do a bit of competition. Or I like just like doing bunkai. And there's a whole spectrum of it, but they don't really care about who's teaching them. They only care if it's good. And so then, and I think you can not only say that about kind of the specific style, but also just the general sense of what karate is. And you'll see a lot of people who are cross-training, like me, or like lots of people, or just kind of changing ideas. Us now, just changing ideas and stuff. And I think that's the future. And so then, what do you need an organization for? Well, I think you don't need an organization for legitimacy. You don't need it for like getting that kind of your name in a big book in Japan. My Dan registration is in Japan, kind of thing. You don't need it for that anymore. You need it for two things. You need it for a sense of community. So you're connected in your local area, in your national area, in your international arena. And you need peer-reviewed gradings. You need to have a sense that this is not me just going, oh, well, this guy here, he's taking a grading. He didn't do as well, but he was doing fine in the dojo. So I'll do a blind eye. I'll just pass him. No, you get other people within the wider community coming in and peer reviewing what you're doing. And I think those two things are fundamental to a sustainable organization.
As you say, peer review in terms of promotion as opposed to grading. I think at a certain level, grading kind of goes out the window. I think that people, if they've stayed the course, you're wanting to see how people have internalized the training and kind of created their practice. I think probably from Yondan up, I'm kind of a big fan of promotion as opposed to let's do 100 meter kumite or something like that. It just becomes, it's not that it's not meaningless, but I think the emphasis becomes something away from what it was intended to be. So with the HDKI, you have Goju-ryu practitioners, you've got people in America, in Europe, all over the world. Is that the realization of what you were talking about creating a community? Is that creating, it's about like minds, about sort of pooling energy and sharing an individual love? What is the HDKI about for you?
Yeah, I mean, it's about a true sense of community. It's about, in many ways, it's about kind of being safe within your karate life, that you are surrounded by people who you like and respect, and that like and respect you, and being able to have confidence in that. And I've just seen and also experienced quite a lot of organizations that cycle into kind of dysfunctionality, and I really wanted to avoid that. And so I have my, my plan within the HDKI is that in about, I don't know, 6 years time, I'm the chief technical director of the HDKI. So we don't have a chief instructor, because I never wanted to imply that I'm going to tell you what to do. I just so every country has a technical head, a technical director, and really they're also not the chief instructor. They're just the mouthpiece for they're the conduit for the HDKI community at large to their HDKI community. So Simon Bly is the technical director of the UK. That's not to say that he is the chief instructor and that he dictates technique. He doesn't, because there's many people who are nowadays, especially many people who are higher grade than him. But what he is the conduit, the key person that has contact with all the clubs and also has contact with the wider community. And we have individuals in each country that represent that. And so the idea is that we're kind of creating this network of community. And then my idea is that I will do that probably for another 6 years. So then I would have had a decade of the HDKI, and then I'll resign. So when I'm probably about 55, that's it. I'm resigning. Someone else will become the chief technical director. And I will take a complete step back. And I think the reason why, by taking a step back from the organization, I then guarantee that I'll be part of that community until the day I die. I want to make sure that I'm in a sustainable organization that is constantly, maybe not constantly growing, but is sustainable. And by taking a step back, you then kind of pass it on to the next generation. Like like say, for example, Ross it will be kind of mid-30s by that point. I think people in the 30s and 40s are really good at pushing things. They've got ideas, they've got kind of motivation, they've got energy. As you get older, those, you can solidify those ideas, but then you can become a little bit kind of like, I don't know, concrete in your thinking and sure in what you're thinking. And I think that's no good. I think then you pass it on to someone else and then they can play with it. And as long as the fundamental principles are the same, as long as the core principles of the community are the same, then it's bound to be sustainable. So yeah, for me, the HDKI is something that I've helped to create and wish to be part of until the day I die, for as long as I can,
What is the word? I had that cliche, karate is not something I do, it's something that I am. It just annoys me. It just it sounds cliche and it always kind of sounds disingenuous. Yeah. But when I listen to you talk and I watch you practice, there's some congruity there in terms of what you say and what you do, which is really pleasing and inspiring to see. I was listening to one of the Hombu Dojo podcasts a while back, and you were remarking on, I guess when you strike out to do your own thing, there's always going to be the haters, and I'm using the lingo to be down with the young people. There's always the haters, and you were remarking on a particular chap who, in some Facebook forum or something, kind of just dropped this random kind of, yeah, we get it, Scott, sort of thing. You trained in Japan, and like I have to say, I've listened to a lot of interviews with you, and you've never. It's not one of those things that you lead with, and it's generally in response. You refer to it in response to questions and things like that. So how do you deal with the thing which would frighten me about what you're doing and creating this, for want of a better word, this Budokan of different instructors, of different ways of doing what you do? How do you deal with the naysayers and but that's not the way that we've done it. That's not the way that we've done it. How do you deal with that horse shit? I think
it's really easy when you're happy. The ultimate revenge is happiness, right? And so, like, I'm doing all right. I have a nice family and a lovely family, more than nice, a lovely family, and I live in a nice house, and I've got nice things, and I don't need anything, it's not as if I'm struggling, and I've worked very hard for that, and I don't think that there's not for a moment that I think I don't deserve it. And I continue to work hard. But like, when someone says something bad, I kind of think, great, because, I always I always read it and think, okay, is there any truth in it? Is there any truth in it? It's important to always look at it. Like, I never dismiss anything out of hand. I'll look at it and go, is there any truth in it? And if there is, then I'll go, okay, fair point. Let's take that on board. And if there isn't any truth, I go, great, I must be doing all right, because they're going to criticize people that maybe jealous of, I think, and especially things like, I was reading a review of, I don't know why it came up, someone sent it to me, I think, and of Karate Clever, and Karate Clever has 2 1-star reviews. It's like got 4.8% on Amazon. Ouch. And there's mostly a 4s and 5s, yeah. But like, it's 2 1-star, and I was reading. Someone said to me, like, "We read this," and it was all about. It had nothing about the book. It was about me posting clips of teaching on social media, and called it the Scott Lang. Oh, yet again the Scott Langley show, and he gets out and he pulls someone out and gets them to demonstrate it and says, no, that's all wrong, and you're doing it all wrong, and this is how you should do it. And I was read it, and I was like, I never ever pull anybody out and humiliate them by telling them that they're doing it wrong, ever. And I thought, I had to read it and think, is there any truth in that? Absolutely not. So therefore, this guy has just made up a complete fabrication just to try to put me down. Well, if he's trying to put me down, I must be doing all right, because you don't put someone down who's not doing all right. So yeah, I take all that criticism as either a way to kind of improve. I can take some criticism and think, okay, I need to do this, this, and the other, or I take it as a great compliment. Either way is good.
That's wonderful advice. I know we're winding down, but I want to try and get you. I know you're about to go and teach a seminar as well, so I don't want to take up too much more of your time. My grandfather said that, the quality of your contribution by the ardor of your enemies. And I think sort of you really illustrated that really beautifully. What are you working on in your personal training at the moment?
I've been doing, lockdown has been fantastic for me.
I agree. It's actually, it's a terrible thing to say, and no disrespect to anyone who's watching or listening, but I actually really enjoyed the lockdown.
Yeah, it's been wonderful. It's been horrible as well, but it's also been wonderful, so I snapped my ACL, my anterior cruciate ligament, 2 years ago. Yeah, don't worry, I was drunk and being stupid. It's not impressing a girl.
Karate stupid.
Yeah, so it was worth it. It was well worth it. And so for the last 20 years, I've worn a hinged knee brace, like support, and it was something I was at the kind of the sports clinic in Ireland, in Dublin, and about 18 months ago, maybe 2 years ago now, and the knee surgeon, or knee specialist, was saying, oh, that's just psychological, that brace that you're wearing. It's not going to make any difference. And I was like, oh no, I can't do anything without that knee brace. Can't do anything. He's like, that's psychological. And so when we went into lockdown, it was kind of at the back of my mind. And so because we were forced, I was literally in the spare room, when we were completely in lockdown, everything went online, including instructors training. And so we said, okay, well, I'm only going to step one pace forward and then back and blah, blah, blah. There's no real dynamic. Everything's in the control. It's not as if I'm going to block Ross trying to kick my head off, So I took it off. And over the last 16 months, I haven't worn it in the last 16 months for the first time in literally decades. And now I'm back up to full training. And for the last year or so, about this time last year, we were back in the dojo for the first time and started sparring with Ross. And I remember saying to him, look, this is the first time I've sparred without a knee brace, literally for 20 years. So can we just see how it goes, And now, not a bother on me. It's absolutely fine, touch wood. And so it's kind of almost seems strange, but kind of reconnected me to that whole kind of spring in my step. And so I'm feeling and working an awful lot on just the connection between the big toe, the ball of the foot, the big toe ball of my foot from one foot to the other. And I just feel that kind of spring a whole lot more going from my arch to my calf. So basically, ball of foot, big toe ball of foot, calf, arch of one foot to the other, and just constantly working on that and kind of just creating that kind of explosive spring. So yeah, I'm trying to kind of implement that in a lot of Kihon, Kumite, and Kata. To the point where it's a little bit too much at the moment. It's a little bit too much that I'm starting to do Kihon without my heel on the ground. And it'd be kind of, there'll be people horrified with that. But yeah, that's what I'm working on.
No, that completely resonates with me. My meniscus has been battling me for the last, I don't know how many years. Meniscus is not my friend. So that really resonates, and it is a strange thing that I've got my my knee brace hanging over the table beneath me, and it's kind of going. I'm thinking, of late, I've stopped trying to wear the knee brace, and so it really resonates. It's wonderful.
Because the knees over toes guy on Instagram. Like I started following him, and he comes up with quite a lot of very basic kind of like quite a few basic difficult exercises that we've been doing quite a bit of in morning training, really strengthening the muscles around the knee, because I've got torn meniscus in both knees as well, and it really
It's just depressing that you can still kick, that you can kick the way that you kick. And you see, I was feeling that was my out. I was going, well, I can't kick like Scott because of my meniscus, which I've got, and now to hear that you've got torn meniscus, I may never put this interview out now because you just made me feel completely irrelevant.
I've also got torn MCL on my right knee as well. But you just kind of like the body finds a way. If you give it the right tools, it'll find a way, I think.
Yeah. I'm also a big fan of intermittent fasting as well, and cold plunges. I do a cold plunge every morning, so I'm with you there on that one, brother. In closing, because I know that you've got to get, and I thank you so much for giving your time to this. I want to say that just to give you a couple of reflections, if I may. I think that what you've been able to achieve and the decisions that you made have been quite courageous. I think that, as you say, it's that kind of thing of when you stick your head up, people are going to knock it down. And I think that if the only emotional tool you have in your bag is a hammer, everything starts looking like a nail. But I personally have really appreciated your impact on our community, on the entire martial arts community. I found it to be really inspiring. I love you. I'm really inspired by what I've read in your writing, and I really encourage you to do some more of that, because I think we need more good karate stuff out there, and from people who actually do it. The multimedia stuff you do is really good and really inspiring. And like I say, it's not so inspiring when I go, why can't I kick like that? I may have missed the boat on that, but I just want to say that I hope that at some point you get down to New Zealand. There's a place for you here. I know that you'd make a big impact down here, and I know that I just sort of think you have a message that more people need to hear, and it's about freedom and enjoying training and finding joy in it. And I just want to thank you for taking time, Scott Langley Sensei, for being a part of my little podcast. Where can people get at you? I know and I know, but it's going to be quicker if you let people know.
Well, they can Facebook and Instagram, Scott Langley, and Instagram is Scott_HDKI, and the website for the organization is hdki.org. And basically, if they just Google Scott Langley Karate, there's 2 Scott Langleys in the world. One's a professional golfer with the PGA, and the other one's me. So
that's your ego.
Yeah, if you Google Scott Langley, he comes up first, and then I come up a quick second. But if you Google Scott Langley Karate, I'm first.
Yes, the one and only, the original. No, hey, thank you so much. I'm going to put links to the Facebook page, the website, and to Sensei Langley on Instagram and so on and so forth. If you get a chance, do go check out both the stuff that he's putting out, because it's excellent. If you get a chance, you're in Dublin, or if you're one of those dojo that you're kind of wondering what to do, I would encourage you to check out the HDKI. I think they've got a really wonderful message, good people, good things, and enough of the dickheads. We can actually train together and actually be friends, and we can enjoy it, even if our meniscus is badly torn. So any final word to you there, Sensei?
Huge thank you. It's been my pleasure. I generally don't get asked to do podcasts that often, and so it was a huge pleasure and for you to ask me, and it's been a huge pleasure to talk to you.
No, thank you, and likewise, thank you for you and Simon for having. Now, where can purveyors of fine podcasts find you and Simon?
So our questions over a beer, which comes with some criticism at times, but is on my YouTube channel, which is I think it's Scott Langley Karate is the YouTube channel, but it's also kind of linked with the HDKI. We're on that, and I it was just something that we did during lockdown that we continued, that kind of has it. So we maybe get it on, I don't know, maybe we'll stick it elsewhere at some point. But at the moment, it is only on YouTube because you have to see our ugly faces in order to do it.
If you've ever got, if you ever want it, you're always welcome. Please don't leave. You've got a standing invitation. If there's anything you ever just want to have a spout about, I'll push record, ask you the right questions and sit back. But you're always welcome. Thank you so much. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you.